Hey everybody, this is Mike with the One Stop Co-op Shop, and I'm back to Wargame Town for the British Way. GMT sent me a review copy of this one. And this is the latest in GMT's Coin Counterinsurgency series. In this case, it is a 1v1 only game with 4 different scenarios and a campaign that can combine them all together. And I'm taking this one back old school. More than 20 years ago, when I first got into war games, there were almost none that were solo playable, so you would just take a 2-player war game and play both sides yourself. And there is no hidden information in this one. Everything is open for both players. So we're going to see how this goes. I'm playing the Cyprus scenario, so I'll be controlling both the brown or beige, whatever they are, and blue pieces for the British, and the EOKA forces, which are the sort of reddish pink ones, who are trying to get independence for Cyprus and also join the Greek mainland. And if you like the content on the One Stop Co-op Shop, consider supporting us through Patreon. You get early access to our videos and exclusive videos every month you can't see anywhere else. You can also listen to our podcast for great reviews and interviews, or join the conversation on our Discord. So if you haven't seen me cover a coin game before, the British Way has a lot of similarities. And by the way, each of the 4 scenarios in this one has its own map and has some of its own rules. But the core idea is you'll have an event card, and you'll have, for the players, one of them being first eligible, one of them being second eligible. The first eligible will pick one of 3 options: a limited operation, which is generally an action in one space on the board; an event, which means they get to resolve the event in the way they like; or an op and special activity, which is an operation usually in up to 3 locations on the board, plus a little bonus action, a special activity. And after they make their choice, the second eligible faction can pick one of the choices they didn't choose, and also either faction, when they place their token on a space, can choose to pass and get like a minor benefit. Like if the EOKA really didn't want to do the event, they can still block the British from doing it. And then after both sides have acted, the one that is further left becomes first eligible for the next round. The one that is further right becomes second eligible. You flip another card, and you see where things go from there. And seeded into the deck, there are 3 propaganda cards, which are going to have a sort of wrap-up victory point scoring propaganda round. And a lot of things in the propaganda round are going to allow the EOKA to reduce the political will of the British to stay in Cyprus. If they can ever get it down to 0 before the game ends or by the end of the game, they win. Whereas if the British can just survive for 3 propaganda rounds, then they will be victorious. There's a lot more going on in the game, a whole bunch of different actions and tokens and things, but I'll discuss those as we get to them. But one thing I do want to note is that GMT posted an official variant, I think they called it the Advanced Cyprus variant, that is supposed to kind of help with a few wrangly things in the design that made the balance a little bit wonky sometimes, and I am using those, so I'll try to mention the differences as they come up. So getting into round 1, the EOKA always starts as first eligible at the beginning of the game and after each propaganda round. And they got one of these circular tokens, which is called an arms cache, in the mountains over here. There are 2 mountain regions, a whole bunch of town regions, 6 of them, the light green, and 2 British bases. And these arms caches are the core place that the EOKA can recruit from. They can also help the EOKA successfully put down sabotage tokens in towns and British bases, which is one of the main ways the EOKA will degrade the political will and win. And they can also be spent to let the EOKA make one of its operations apply to an additional space, so 2 with a limited operation or 4 with an operation. So they are a pretty important resource, and the EOKA wants to, whenever possible, leave at least 1 in the mountains, because each propaganda round, the British get a bunch of political will if they have taken all of the arms caches out of the mountains. Besides that, the EOKA has some cells starting on the board and more in reserve here, and they can be underground with no star visible or active with their star visible. They generally become active to do things on the board, like attack people and put down those sabotage tokens. And once they're active, it's a lot easier for the British to get rid of them or even put them in prison, which is extra bad for the EOKA. But all that being said, let's look at our first event card and see what I might want to do. So this is Mountain Gangs, and pretty much every event is going to have a version that's more friendly to the British and a version that's more friendly for the EOKA. In this case, the British one will let the British search in a mountain and then assault there, which basically means they can very easily send some troops in, reveal everything here, blast it all away, and taking out an arms cache gets them political will, gets them these things called intel tokens, which then will let them kill more of the EOKA. Long story short, that's a pretty nasty event for the British to get access to. But on the EOKA side, it says move up to 6 British troops from any towns to 1 mountain space. which is pretty cool. I could get them all to like run over here to the Grenia Mountains and be totally away from where they need to be defending things. But generally speaking, in this one, I've found that it's way better when you're first eligible to do an Ops and Special Activity whenever possible. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do the Ops and Special Activity, try to do some nasty stuff on the board, but also try to weaken the mountain gang. I think I'm going to get this arms cache out of those mountains and into one of the towns. So you get a fun, super simple player aid for each of the forces. For the EOKA, they have 4 different operations. To summarize them really simply, you have Recruit, where you can put new cells in spaces with arms caches or adjacent to them. You have Travel, where you can move cells around the board, and that will also make them go underground again if they're active, so good to do if they're in danger. You have Sabotage, where you're going to activate some cells to roll and try to put these sabotage tokens in spaces, which again is the main way you're going to lower political will, or one of the main ways. And finally, you have Ambush, where again you'll activate cells. You might take out some police in that area. The blue cubes are police forces. And that'll let the EOKA put down new arms caches. So we are going to recruit, and I can pick up to 3 mountains or towns. I can never recruit into the British bases. And they need to not have these curfew markers, which the British can put down to limit the EOKA's options. Now, if I recruited into a mountain space that has an arms cache, I'd actually get 2 cells there instead of 1. But again, I want to kind of abandon the mountains since they could get attacked so easily. And actually, you know what? I would rather have different options for recruiting. You're allowed to do your special activity, which I'm getting by doing this space, before or after or in between any of your placements for the main action. So before I recruit up to 3 spaces, let's do one of my special activities. There's 3 for each faction called Smuggle. This lets you place or move arms caches. And each special activity can only go with certain operations. So here, because I'm recruiting, I can do anything, including Smuggle. So here it lets me pick any mountain or town space with a cell. I'm going to pick this space right here. And sorry, I didn't look up the pronunciation, Famagusta. And I could place an arms cache there if there were no cubes there, or I can move one there from an adjacent space that has a cell in it. So I'm going to send this here from the mountains. And now that's going to totally change my recruitment options because I can recruit in any places next to here. So let's recruit 1 in Karpas up here where there's no cubes to bother me. And hey, let's put 1 in these mountains, which is going to kind of threaten to place a new arms cache in those later to prevent the British from getting a bonus from me having none. And then what the hey, 1 more in Nicosia, because that's worth double the value, this 2 versus 1, if I can get some sabotages in there. Okay, so I did my special activity smuggling my arms cache over here, and I recruited in up to 3 spaces. So that's it for the EOKA. Now the British could do a limited op, which is one of their operations, but only in a single space, or they can do the event. But at this point, the event is a little bit meh, because all it would do is get rid of one of these single dudes in the mountains. I don't know if that's too exciting. I'd rather shore up my defenses for the towns, I think. So let's do, I think, a limited op for the British. Let's go through their main options. So there's Deploy, which is going to put out more police units and will also let you move a bunch of troops to any one space to kind of gather them up. There's Patrol that lets you move your police around, and then in one space, the police can arrest any cells there, only if they're active or if they have intel to spend. Again, you'll get these intel tokens. You can spend these intel to kind of skip the revealing step of flipping these things active and just get rid of them right away. Then there's Search, where you can send troops to spaces to activate cells there. And that's also how you put down these curfews that are going to limit recruitment and movement and lots of other stuff for the EOKA. And finally, there's Assault that lets these greenish, beigeish troops attack cells in the same space as them, but they need to already be active again unless you have intel to do stuff with. So what should I do for my limited op? I'm thinking maybe of searching into Famagusta. I could bring these 3 troops in here. It would let me put a curfew in here, activate that 1 cell, put their only arms cache on the board in danger. I kind of like all of that. So sure, let's try that. So with a search, you get to pick up to 3 destination spaces if it's a full ops. With it being a limited op, I only get to pick 1. I'm going to pick Famagusta. And I can move adjacent troops. Often adjacency doesn't matter for movement. Almost everybody can kind of move wherever. But specifically for the search operation, they need to be adjacent. So I could move as many troops as I want to from adjacent spaces into here. In this case, I'm going to move 2 from this base, but leave 1 behind to defend it. And then finally, I get to activate cells. If it was mountains or a British base, I would get to activate 1 cell per cube. But in the towns, I only get to activate 1 cell per 3 cubes, which is all I needed here because I have the 1 police and 2 troops. And then I put a curfew in the town. Now, curfews do several things. Number 1, the EOKA cannot recruit into there. Number 2, and this is one of those changes with that advanced rule set I mentioned. Number 2, they cannot move out of there. They can't travel to leave. They are at my discretion to assault later. Number 3, it's also tougher to move into places with curfews. It's usually going to automatically activate cells that go in there. But curfews are also dangerous in many ways. It can allow the EOKA to take a special activity that's going to degrade the international opinion track up here. The further right this goes, the more political will the British are going to lose every propaganda round automatically. It also allows the EOKA to smuggle more arms caches in. So it's a complicated thing, but for now, hey, I got 1 curfew. And that is round 1. The British are now first eligible, the EOKA second. And we flip our next card, which is Human Rights Committee. So this one is an EOKA capability. Whichever of us, if anybody, does activate this event will cause one of these 2 abilities to be in effect for the rest of the game. And that's pretty crazy when you're so early in the game. So if the British do the event, it makes the propagandize special activity in curfew spaces only shift the international opinion 1 step. That's the thing I just mentioned where they can use curfew to make the international community angry at the British. But if the EOKA do it, they can highlight abuses, and it basically lets them propagandize more with that special activity, 2 spaces instead of 1, which is pretty dang bad, but not so bad that I don't think the British are going to do the ops and special activity here. You know, I could assault right away, but I think I want to do another search action and get more of these cells in trouble. Now, the British have their own 3 special activities. Restore is a very tough one to use because it only goes with a deploy operation, but it lets them get rid of curfews and, more importantly, sabotage tokens in spaces to prevent the EOKA from taking away political will. Then they have diplomacy. It's a pretty simple one. It just lets them move the international opinion track to the left, costing the EOKA free political will, making it hard for them to smuggle. And then finally, interrogate is going to let them, this is a very powerful one, if they have placed some of the cells in prison, which can happen either through the patrol action with police arresting people, or assaulting, although for that to work, they have to defeat several cells at once. Then with the interrogate special activity, they can gain those intel tokens that'll let them take more actions or let them attack people without revealing them first. Very powerful if you can get people in prison. And it also means that the EOKA can't recruit them because they're not available. So yes. But what I'm going to do here before I search and put a lot more curfew tokens down, which is what I plan to do. First, let's do diplomacy, because how it works is if we have 3 or fewer towns with sabotage and curfew markers, currently we just have 1, we can move it left 1 for free. If we instead had 4 or more towns with curfews and or sabotage, we would have to roll to see if we succeeded at that. And I'm about to put a bunch more curfews down, so let's just keep it simple and do it first. All right, then I think I'm going to do 1, how many? I guess 2, 3. Are those the ones I want to do? I could send 1 person to the mountain. Nah, this seems more interesting. Okay, and I'll bring, again, 2 troops into here. And I think that's good enough. I don't have to move anybody in, but still, because there are 3 cubes here, boom, I get that. Because there are at least 3 cubes here, I get them. And because there are 3 here, I get 1 of the cells in Nicosia activated, not both. And then these are my last curfews. 4 is the most you can have out at one time. So this might be terrible for me. They certainly have a lot of things they can do to me, but it doesn't mean I'm severely limiting their activities, and they won't be able to move these people away, and I should be able to assault at least 3 of them in a second. And that brings it back to the EOKA. What do I want to do here? I could do the event, which would make propagandize a bit better for them, which is kind of ridiculous because if I propagandized in a second in 2 of these curfew spaces, I could move international opinion all the way to the right, which is pretty great. Yeah, I mean, it's so early in the game, it seems silly not to. So I'm going to move this over to the side, and I put a thing that shows which one we chose, the shaded one. So for the rest of the game, the international community has heard about the human rights abuses by the British. They sent a committee to investigate, and now they can propagandize the EOKA. So that was event for the rest of the game. But that's their entire turn, so they don't really get to respond much. But hey, they are first eligible as you go to the next card. It's going to be rough handling. Oh, man. So this is one of the craziest cards in the game for the British to get. So the fact that EOKA is first eligible is going to be nice for them. So if the British activate this, it says interrogate adds 1 intel chit for every cell in prison. So normally when the British take the interrogate special activity, they get information from the people in prison, and they get 1 intel chit for every 2 cells in prison, rounded down. But this would double that, which means, oh my gosh, they would have so much intel for days, and it's still so early. Now this one, though, interrogate lowers political will by 1, which is literally the victory condition. Yeah, I hate to give the British another, if I'm the EOKA, I hate to give them another option special activity, but that is too beautiful to pass up. So maybe we're going to suck for this first campaign. That's what it's called, all the sets of card plays until you get to the first propaganda round. But it's going to be better later, so man, that's going to really make it tough for the British to interrogate a bunch. Okay, but that's all that they're doing. So I think we're going to go ahead and assault like we planned to, right? So once again, we can pick up to 3 spaces, and the British will be able to remove pieces on a 1-to-1 basis for troop cubes, except in mountains it would be 2-to-1 for each one they remove. So yeah, the only tough thing is, where do I do it? I certainly do it here, because they'll take out the base 2, which is wonderful. Well, actually, we can pick the rest after. So let's go ahead and do this one. So 1 cube defeats this person. Always when you assault, the first one goes to available, and then the second goes to prison. The third would go to available, the fourth would go to prison, which is super important because it means that generally, unless they're able to assault 2 units at once in a single space, they're not going to get anybody to prison. Okay, but their second hit gets rid of the only arms cache the EOKA has on the board. That's pretty devastating. Which also gets the British 1 political will, and gets him a single intel token. There's 3 zeros, 3 1s, 3 2s. Oh, they got a 0 this time. This is open information, by the way. They do draw it randomly, but then both players get to see that. Ooh, now that I got that, that'll be interesting. Because I'm going to assault here. Okay, and then I'll assault here. But the British can spend an intel token, including a 0 token, to add an extra space. And I think you can do that while you're in the middle of an operation, maybe. Either way, let's go ahead and try it. So we'll get rid of 1 person from Nicosia. Although, is that even worth doing? Should I just wait for them to potentially do something and reveal their other person? Yeah, I don't know. Well, it's a 0 anyway. Let's not worry about it. All right. Taking us into round 4. Now the event is School Children Revolt. For the British, it removes 2 cells to available from any spaces. That's pretty crazy. For the EOKA, they may propagandize in 1 curfew space, even if they don't have a cell there. Oh, I did get rid of, no, I didn't get rid of all the cells in curfew spaces. Okay, so I don't think that's going to persuade the EOKA to do anything wild. Let's have them do an op-in special activity. And I think I've got cells ready to go and nobody there to stop them. I think I should do some sabotaging. So unless you spend an arms cache, again, it's going to be in 3 spaces. So let's sabotage in Paphos and Nicosia. That one's not going to be great. But we have a chance in Karpas. Now, we can do a special activity first. And I was thinking about doing propagandize, but instead, infiltrate is a really nasty one. I pick a space where the number of underground cells is equal to or greater than the number of police, like in Nicosia here. And then the police, whoops, becomes a cell. Oh no! And if there was intel for the British, they would have to discard their highest value one. But still, that's great for me because the police cubes make it tougher to successfully sabotage spaces. So not having any police here is going to be great. All right, let's get to sabotaging. So we'll do it here first. We have to activate the cell. Then we're rolling a die looking for a 3+ that's modified by -1 for each police in the space, which is not going to apply to any of these, thankfully. And it's +2 if we have an arms cache in or adjacent to the place where we're sabotaging, and we remove it, which is clearly not an option at the moment. All right, so in Paphos, we need a 3 or higher. We got it. So that's a sabotage token, which, unless removed, which is pretty tough to do, is going to lower political will at the end when we propagandize, which is going to happen pretty soon. Okay, then in Nicosia, we got it also. That's a big one, because that's 2 instead of 1. Finally up in Karpas. We failed there. Okay, that's fine. Now, the most important spot is where we got it. All right, so that was our special activity to change the police into one of our friends. All right, now the event or limited op. The event would let me get 2 of their cells to available. I could take out both the ones in the mountain, because it's very likely a propaganda is about to come out, and that would make it totally impossible for them to get arms caches in there quickly. Although not impossible, that's right. They can put them down in spaces like adjacent to cells pretty easily. I could also try to arrest some people, but that's not necessarily that valuable. Because again, the first propaganda card is going to come out. I should say there are 4 non-propaganda cards on the top of the deck, And then the propaganda card is shuffled into, with 2 other cards, the next 3. So, yeah, I guess it's only a 1/3 chance propaganda is coming next. See, I'm really not sure. Let's do the event and remove the 2 mount ones. I guess we'll see what happens. All right, so the British will be first eligible, and this is big. Oh, it was the 1/3 chance, which means now it'll be extra long before the next propaganda because there'll be 2 extra cards. So we go through a bunch of little things. First, international pressure. We lose political will equal to the current international opinion, which is only 1. That was not too bad. And with the advanced variant I mentioned, we would first increase international opinion to the right in the bad direction for the British for every 3 people in prison. So if we had a lot of people in prison, it would cost us more political will. It would make it easier for the EOKA to smuggle more. But no problem with that right now. Okay, then we go into disorder, and we're going to lose 1, 2, 3. That's it. 3 political will for the sabotage tokens. But then the British get 1 political will back for every 2 town spaces without any sabotage. So that's going to get them 2 for these 2 pairs. And then we would check if the EOK had gotten it down to 0 with the sum of all those changes. Clearly not, so we're not going to end the game early. Next, the British get to move police however they want, as long as they're in spaces with other British pieces. It's nice to double them up, so it's a little bit harder to use some of the abilities. So maybe like putting them both in Nicosia, although maybe that's more dangerous. Maybe they can both go in Famagusta for now. If I had any troops in the mountains, they would have to go back to bases, but that's not the case. Then similarly, the EOKA must move any cells that are in bases somewhere else. Oh, and I forgot, the EOKA gets to place 1 arms cache in a town or mountain with a cell for free. They can't do the mountain. Oh, and I forgot all about that. We get 2 political will if they don't. Oh my gosh. Political will didn't go down at all. Oof. But yeah, if they had at least 1 arms cache in the mountain, the British would not have gained those 2. Sorry, I forgot about that. But yeah, they can put an arms cache in a place with a cell. Let's do it over here, where it's pretty much safe right now. And the British get a free intel chit if they don't have any, so they have a 1 for next time. Okay, then we move the police. We already did that. Then they can move cells to any places with a mountain. Well, that doesn't really matter. Okay, now we check if there are 3 or fewer spaces with sabotage and curfew. That's clearly not the case. If there were, international opinion would go 1 to the left, but it's not here. And then all the sabotage and curfew go away, so we'll have to put them back down if we want them. If there are people in cells, half of them would get released. And all the cells go back to being underground. That's a bit of a bummer for the British. And the EOK become first eligible. That was bad too, yeah. Bad for the British that the propaganda came out right then. But that is kind of 1/3 of the game. And the EOKA is in a terrible place with political will still full, international opinion pretty low. But a great place with some ongoing abilities unlocked and decent presence on the board. All right, so EOKA is first, and let's see what we got. Mass detention. Roundup, remove all cells in curfew spaces to prison. Well, that's a useless event to the British. Or create new recruits. Okay, so it is all about curfews, which means it is a dead event. We won't worry about that. So let's do an ops and special activity. Okay, I think the EOKA definitely needs to recruit. I mean, we could sabotage right now, actually. But I'm worried about activating the cell guarding the only arms cache. Yeah, so let's try recruit with a smuggle option again. And because international opinion is not at 0, they can smuggle. Because there are no cubes over in Karpas, we can just put one right in there. That's a special activity. And then we can pick up to 3 spaces. Let's put a cell here and over here next to there. And hey, let's put one in the mountains too, so that we can maybe get an arms cache there later. All right, so the EOK is all over the place, ready to spread some sabotage. The British clearly don't care about the event. They could do a limited op or just pass to get an extra intel chip. That's the bonus if they choose to pass. But let's do the limited op. Actually, no, I think I was going to search, but let's deploy instead. I can put another police here maybe for now. Oh, to deploy, by the way, you need to have more cubes in the space than EOKA pieces. And then even if it's a limited operation, I can pick a space and move any number of troops there. Let's get maybe another troop over to Nicosia to try to deal with those people in a second. I don't know if that was a good idea or not. Okay, next is Operation Forward to Victory. British may search in one space and then assault there. Or Grievous Terror Campaign. EOK may perform sabotage in each town with underground cells. Yeesh. That is a nasty event. So I could, as the British, do the event, moving like, I don't know, 2 of the police and 1 of the troops in Nicosia. I would get to reveal those people, put a curfew down, and then put 1 in prison and 1 unavailable. And I can only move troops, that's right. So there is no way for me to fully search and, like, take care of them there. I think I just might have to let them sabotage a lot. I don't know. Or I'm forgetting, you can discard an intel token when you do a search in a town to, instead of doing the curfew thing and 3 cubes for every 1 activation, to instead make it more like a mountain or a base and do 1 cube per 1 activation and not put the curfew down. So I could, without moving anybody, take care of both people in Nicosia. But then they could do an ops and special activity. Yeah. But then I'd still be first. Alright, sure, I guess. So I'll spend my intel, I'll pick Nicosia for the search and then assault. So it's 1 for 1. There's no curfew. They both get revealed, and then I assault. 1 goes to prison, 1 goes to available. I don't know if any of that was a good idea. Then clearly the OKA will do a special activity. I think, yeah, I mean, sabotage still makes the most sense. So they'll do 1, 2, 3. Definitely not here, where 3 police would make it pretty much impossible. With no police in any of those spaces, again, we're looking for a 3+. We could get rid of the arms cache, but I mean, 3+ is already pretty good. So Paphos, got it. That was a 3 if it didn't quite make it onto camera. Where was the next one? Limassol, out, fails, and Karpas. All right, and then hopefully they can get the heck out of there before the British do anything about it. Let's see what the next event is. John Harding. Place a curfew marker in a town with troops, then search and assault there. Or talks with Macarios Falls. Shift international opinion 2 steps to the right. Ooh, they would like that. But yeah, I think this time what I want to do is get some curfews down, because with the variant advanced rules, cells cannot move out of spaces with curfews, as I mentioned, which will make it a lot easier in both these places with arm caches to take these people out. So sure, we're going to do a search action, but we can do diplomacy or interrogate. We'll definitely do diplomacy, and again, before we put down the curfews. So now we are on ignored, which means this is important. They cannot use the smuggle special activity, which might have let them move their arms caches out of those places. All right, so we're going to go to Paphos. We're going to go to... Oh, I can't get enough cubes there, can I? All right, well, we'll go to Limassol, and I guess we'll go to Famagusta instead. All right, so Paphos, we'll get 3 in. Well, actually, I guess we don't need to get 3 in because they're already revealed. We just really need to send 1. To have well, 2 would be enough to assault there and take out them in the base. And here we don't need to bring anybody in, but sure, we'll send in 1 extra person. All right, we get a curfew there. And then here, I can bring one of these people from over here. Oh, I don't need to. I've already got 1 billion cubes here. So yeah, that guy will get activated. And there's a curfew here. Ha ha ha. Oh, what am I thinking? I don't need 3 cubes to actually do the thing. Okay, so hold on. We won't go here. Where were they? I think they were already there, right? We will go to Karpas because I only need to send a couple troops in there. And then I can bring a troop to Nicosia to actually attack that guy with an assault. Because I will get a curfew here so this guy can't escape. It will be enough so we can attack the arms cache. And I don't need to reveal anybody. Okay, cool. So we've got curfews in the places where they did the sabotage, as well as here. Now, do they want to shift international opinion to? It's on 0 right now, so that's certainly not great. Yeah, I think they do, because in a second they can propagandize as a special activity and get international opinion all the way, as we'll see. Okay, so we're going to use the John Harding thing, and we got international opinion back to 2. Okay, next is Turkish police. Infiltrate only removes rather than replaces police and no longer discards intel chits. But police no longer subtract from sabotage rolls. Ooh, so it is like kind of a mixed bag for both sides. I don't know if either of us is in a rush for that, but certainly the OKA is not going to try to steal it. So ops and special activity. And they're definitely going to propagandize while they have the option. So normally you can only do this in 1 space. With our active card over here, we can do it in 2. And how it works is you need to have cells in spaces with curfew and or sabotage tokens. And if the cells were all underground, one of them would have to flip active, but with them already active, it doesn't hurt them at all. And their choice is, in a space with curfew and a cell, they can increase international opinion by 2. And in a space with a cell and sabotage, they can decrease political will by 1. And another one of the changes in the advanced rules is that if both tokens are in a space, sabotage and curfew, they can only pick the political will one. But here they don't care, so they can pick 1 spot with the sabotage, 1 with the curfew only. And that gets international opinion all the way to 4, which will be -4 political will in a second, and political will down to 14. Although, gosh, I don't know if it's enough. They need to go so far since they didn't do anything in that first round. Oh, and now I got to figure out what operation they're actually doing, because you can do propagandize with any of them. They can't travel out of places with curfews, so they can't really get those guys to safety. So I think recruit's going to make the most sense. So it has to be adjacent to an arms cache, although another thing in the advanced variant is that they can always recruit somebody into the mountains. It can be up to 3 spaces, and it can't have a curfew. So let's maybe get one in the Kyrenia Mountains. One with Famagusta, because they don't have any intel to reveal them anyway. And there's only one troop there. With the same logic, let's get another... Ooh, actually, could we... No, we can't recruit where there's curfews. Oh, never mind, we can't recruit in Famagusta then either. So yeah, I guess it'll just be Limassol and the Trudos Mountains, which are also next to the arms cache. We don't really have many choices here. All right, but the propagandized part was good. They have some more cells on the board. Not everyone's going to be wiped out. But now it is... They want to do the event. I guess they can do a limited op. I think they're about to do an assault, so what else do they want to do? Well, there are a lot of places they want to assault. So maybe they do a limited assault now, and then another assault for a full operation in a second. So sure, let's go ahead and assault in Pamphos. So that's... or Paphos, this guy to available. This one here, which does get 1 political will. It gets them an intel. I feel like I'm playing, a 0 intel though. Yeah, but I feel like I'm playing the EOK like a moron. Like political will should not be this high. All right, but that was it for their limited op. Next we have Radio Athens. If international opinion is at discussed or ignored, remove 3 cells. It's not. Or attract recruits. Place 3 cells total in any towns or mountains. Oh, that's pretty good. Okay, but yes, the British are going to do an ops special activity and assault. So I think they'll assault here next. They can get rid of the person and the arms cache, which would get them a political will if they weren't already full. Then they get an intel. Gosh, also a 0. I was hoping they could assault both these people by discarding an intel, but no such luck. Well, whatever. They'll still assault here and here because they can. And then with assault, the only special activity they can do is interrogate. And they only have 1 person in prison, which would get them nothing. So they're just wasting it. That sucked. And then, yeah, I think the EOK has to use Radio Athens. Let's get some more maybe sabotage going. Because, yeah, they can go in any 3 towns. Let's go in some that don't have curfews, that don't have sabotage yet, that don't have any police to stop us. Oh, we already got one in Limassol. Well, what the hey? It does say any. We can go into Paphos again, even though there's a curfew there. And they'll be first eligible. I'm thinking like maybe they can do something to get some more arms caches on the board, and then also do a bunch of sabotage. Oh, but it's a ability one. Assassinations. From the British side, infiltrate may replace police or discard an intel chip, but not both. Meh. And EOKA. Infiltrate may instead select a space with an underground cell to remove 1 police there. Oh, which means they wouldn't have to worry about whether there's more or fewer police. Yeah, neither of those is, like, amazing. So they'll just do an ops and special activity. Ooh, but if they do sabotage, they can't get more of these down. How many cards has it been since the propaganda? It's been 6. So it was 2 and then 4. So once again, we're in a 1/3 chance of propaganda happening. They really, really need some arms caches in the mountain or they're going to barely gain anything. But the only way they can take the smuggle special activity is if they recruit or travel. Traveling doesn't matter at all. Recruiting seems kind of dumb. But I think it's the best option they have because I really don't want to lose the mountain thing again. All right, so they're going to take the smuggle special activity. They can do it in 2 spaces because the international track is all the way to the right. And yeah, they're going to put them in the mountains just to be 100% safe from the British gaining 2 political will in the wash during the propaganda. Okay, and then recruit. They can go next to the arms caches. But now where curfews are. Let's do 1 more in Nicosia. They can do 2 in places with the arms cache. But let's do 1 more there. And let's do 1 more here and not go in... Well, I don't know. Actually, let's do 2 here to guard the arms caches better. All right, so there are tons of cells on the board. That seems pretty good. All right, I don't think the British care enough about that bone, especially with their intel being terrible right now. Oh, though, I do have an interesting thing. I could get rid of that sabotage up there and the curfew, which would help to lessen the political will damage. Yeah, let's do... Oh, it's only a limited op per event. Okay, so never mind. They can do a limited op for now, and then, yeah, I'm thinking about deploying some more police and restoring the curfew sabotage place over there in a second. God, none of these limited operations even seem that interesting to me. I'm just going to do the event, I think, because propaganda is coming soon. All right, so sure. Infiltrate can either replace the police or discard an intel chip, but not both. Again, really not actually that interesting, but whatever. All right, and oh my gosh, why is it always coming at the first opportunity? Okay, well, we didn't get a chance to do what I wanted to do, but so it goes. All right, so first, international pressure. We don't have 3+ people in prison, but it doesn't matter. It's at the highest it can be anyway. So 4 political will from the international opinion track. Then next is sabotage. We're doing 1, 2. Oh, that's it? Oh my gosh. They have so far to go. And then +1 for every 2 towns without sabotage, which is 2 again. Now, they don't get the bonus for the arms caches being in mountains, but yeah, look how high it is. Okay, now the EOKA gets to put an arms cache in a town or mountain with a cell. What the hey? Let's go in Nicosia, or sure, Nicosia. Why not? Well, no, let's go down here. Maybe we'll try to attack a base or something. The British, if they have intel chits, they lose half of them rounded down. So I lose one of my zeros. Oh no. Okay, the British can move police to spaces with British pieces. I don't know, we'll do that for now. And then EOKA can move a cell to anybody with, well, I think it's actually fine there. Okay, 1, 2, 3. Oh, 3 or fewer towns have curfew and sabotage. So international opinion goes back to 3, and then all this stuff comes off. And EOKA is first. And yeah, there's only one propaganda card left. I need to go faster. I need to get stuff. I don't even know. I mean, if I got that, it'd be 4. But I don't need to just hammer sabotage. You can have more than one sabotage in the same place. So if I can get 85 sabotage on the coast, yeah, then I'd be in a great spot. Somewhere in these final 3 cards is the last propaganda that'll end the game. But let's see what we got. Event, development program. Increase political by 1 for each town with both troops and police. No EQA pieces, sabotage markers, or curfew. Or place 2 cells total in any town. All right, whatever. We're doing ops and special activity. I think we just need to start sabotaging. It's sabotage all the time, every time. Boom, and boom. And I guess in Nicosia, because it's worth more. Boom. That's right, we could throw away an arms cache to do it in another spot. Sure. Boom. Except in Nicosia, there aren't police in any of these places, so we have a decent chance. Oh, in special activity, I'm not going to do anything. I'm going to wait, get some sabotage down, and then use propagandize in 2 spaces and lower it by 2, because I can just do that over and over again, right? Maybe that's the way to win here. All right, so 3 or higher here. Got it. 3 or higher in Limassol. Didn't get it. Dang it. 3 or higher here. Then I'm going to get rid of this arms cache to give a +2 to cancel out the police, so it's also a 3 or higher there. Yes, although I didn't need it. Whoops. Wait, that's a 2. That's big. Okay, and then I'm going to propagandize in 2 spots where I have cells. At least 1 is already activated, so I don't have to activate anybody else. And I'm going to lower political will by 2. Boom. That was pretty good, I think, maybe. Let's see. If everything just stopped right now, we would get 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, which is not enough. But then also they would get some. Yeah, we got to work harder. Now, what would the event do for the British? It would increase political will, police, and troops, and nothing else. Oh, by 1. Yeah, great. Let's try, I don't know, let's do a limited deployment. And I'll spend my 0 intel to do it in 2 spots. So if I have more cubes in EOK, I can put a police there, and then I can move all my troops somewhere. So let's put 1 there, maybe 1 over here. Then I can move all my troops to 1 space. Let's bring all these Karpas. Let's go to Nicosia. And we'll be ready to lock that down, I guess, maybe. I don't really know. Could go to the mountains instead, actually. Oh, it's so hard to actually kill them. Yeah, let's do this. Whatever. Okay, next event. Bolster police force. Place all available police in any spaces with British spaces. Then patrol in up to 2 spaces. Patrol is where you can move the police there. And in 1 of them, you can arrest people who are flipped over. So it's actually decent. Oh, gosh. Place the sabotage marker up to 2 towns with cells and police. Oh, that event is deadly. That event is so deadly for me right now. Oh, cells and police. So if I had any way to get rid of the cells or the police, that'd be fine. Yeah, I mean, well, here, it's it's a little silly, but I can neuter that 1 real quick. I'll do patrol, so I pick up to 3 spaces with cells. And then in 1 of them, I can arrest the cells there automatically. So I could go to Paphos, and then I could run away with all these guys. That seems like maybe a little bit overkill. Whatever. And then I can arrest this guy. So, hey. And then I could interrogate. No. With patrol, you can only do diplomacy. And it is 3 or less. So I get down to 2, which, hey, that's something that they're not doing badness to me. Okay, so now I've neutered the event for them because they couldn't place any sabotage in places with cells and police. course, they didn't do a lot for me either, but sure, they'll do a limited op, I guess. Oh, you know what? Let's do a limited sabotage in Nicosia, because then I can just travel them away if I want to and like have them hide again, because there's no curfew or anything. Let's do that. Okay, so we need a 3+. Do I spend the arms cash? No, it's my only one. Okay, we got it though. So boom, that's a bunch of political will being lost there. And they're still first, so again, they'll be able to like travel or stuff. Okay, what's next? A key EL. British may limit a patrol, then increase political will by 1. Or EOK may propagandize in one space with a cell and curfew. Now that part doesn't matter. All right, whatever. They're going to travel and propagandize, I think. So we'll do the propagandize first while they're revealed and all that in these 2 spots. Boom! Oh, look at the political will just melting away. So with travel, they can pick up to 3 origin spaces where they move from, but they don't actually need to move. They can go anywhere, but they can also just stay where they are, but they get to flip for free. Now, if they, remember, they can't move out of curfew with the advance rules. Also, if they move into curfew or move into a base, depending on how many cubes are there and how many of them are moving, they have to reveal. But the big thing is, if I do it, those 3 origin spaces, I can literally just have them go nowhere. But, here. I want to like spread the sabotage more. So let's have this guy stay here where there is nothing yet. Let's have these ones though. Let's have them go to Carpus. Not there, clearly. And Famagusta. And honestly, Nicosia's. Well, I don't want to put too many in one spot. Yeah, let's send them to Limassol and leave one in Nicosia just to be annoying. Okay, cool. And then they all hide. Ha 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 ha. So take that, British. And all the British can do is a limited patrol with the event and then increase political will by 1. Is that worth doing by itself? I don't really think so. What I'd really like to do, if I have enough time, is get rid of the cell in Nicosia, because a single restore special activity gets rid of every sabotage and every curfew in a spot, which would save us so much political will. So yeah, I think that's what I do. I think I'm going to do a limited op to, I guess search into Nicosia. I don't have to add anybody else there, so that'll add a curfew and reveal this dude. I guess that's good, maybe. All right, next we have Hugh Foot. British conduct 2 limited operations, then any special activity. Huh. Or Welcome with Terror. EOK may perform sabotage in up to 3 spaces. Yeesh. So that's just like kind of like an op with special activity anyway. All right, let's try assault with special activity and do interrogate. We'll get 1 intel for the 2 guys. Oh wait, but that lowers political will by 1, doesn't it? Oh man. But the thing is, if I get lucky, with a 1 intel, I can assault that guy. With a 2 intel, I can assault those guys. Definitely buy me. Let's try it. Okay, so I'm going to do interrogate. It does lower political will by 1. And we got a 1. Okay. And then we'll assault here and here. Here we clearly easily get rid of the guy, just 2 available. And then here, if we spend the 1 intel, we can get him even though he's not revealed. Was that worth it? I don't really know. All right, and then I think they're just going to do the event and do some sabotage, right? Carpus, it's a success. Okay, and Limassol, no police anywhere to stop them. It's a success. Oh man, feel like the British are on the run now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and there's no town. Oh my gosh, there's no towns without all the stuff. It's looking bad. Road ambushes. I mean, I can't imagine we're going to care. Ambush in spaces with troops must also remove the activated cells to available. That's the ambush action for the EOKA. Or in 1 ambush space with troops, EOK may lower political will by 1 if successful, but remove no police. Ambush I haven't used yet. Or did I use it once? But yeah, it lets them remove police potentially and also put down more arms caches. But yeah, EOKA has got to do an ops and special activity, right? You know, I think I do a travel. I think I do I'm going to crush. Okay, so I'm going to propagandize here and here. Lower political will by 2. I mean, there's no freaking way the British can survive now, right? And then I'm going to travel from here and from there, and I guess from here. And let's send 1 into Nicosia, just to be kind of annoying. Oh, I guess they can just assault me there anyway. I was going to say if I went in there, yes, they would get revealed because there's too many cubes and there's a curfew there. But at least that would mean that I would have to assault before I could put police in there, get rid of all the sabotage. But that won't work because they could just do a limited assault and then, okay. So anyway, but let's move from Limassol. Hey, you know what? We can threaten a base, right? Why not? And then this dude, honestly, he can just stay where he is. There's still nobody there. And then in the mountains, sure, let's Let's be ultra annoying about things. So when they move into a base or a spot with curfew, you count all the pieces moving and all the cubes. And if it's 4 or more, then they have to reveal. But here they're fine because they didn't leave enough people behind. I mean, honestly, I'm not really sure what the British do here. Put myself in a tough spot, didn't I? I want them to deploy and restore there in a second. Well, I guess at a minimum I can like search in one of these spaces so they can't sabotage there. There we go. Boom. All right, and oh god, could we have the propaganda? No, not yet. It can't possibly be yet. British may restore in any 2 spaces with cubes and no. Oh my gosh. Oh, what a great event for the British. They can restore. That's the thing I was going to like try to put police there down. Normally you need police and troops, but here it's just any 2 spaces with cubes and no EOKA. So let's do it. I mean, 100% let's do it. Yeah. So they're going to do the event, which means that the EOKA could do the ops special activity, but they can restore here, which gets rid of all that sabotage, and here. Well, there they could kind of actually do it on their own potentially later. So let's do it there. So boom, just cleared out a ton of work. The curfew went away too, in one fell swoop. Not bad, not bad. But now that leaves the EOKA free to do the ops and special activity. I think we got to sabotage again, right? We gotta. Boom. And boom, and boom. Those are my best spots. All right, Limassol. Oh, got it. And it was that base, right? Got it. Oh, you're dead, British. What you got? And Karpas didn't get it. And then, oh, they can propagandize twice again. Oh, no. And then, hey, propaganda was not the first thing. Oh, set international opinion to ignored. Because that would help the British, or set it to, oh my gosh. So if they let the EOKA get this, it'll be -4 more. I mean, I think they're just done, right? They're totally done. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 plus 1. Yeah, I mean, there's no friggin' way we can survive this. See, I think they have to do the event. Lower this to ignored and just let the EOKA just run roughshod over everything. And the EOKA will friggin' propagandize again. Gosh, can they really just do that? I think so. And they'll travel from here and from here and from here, I guess. And hey, what the heck? Let's go to Nicosia. And you can just stay right here. Mwahaha. And you can just stay right here too. That's fine. All right, and there it is. I mean, this is going to be crushing for the British. All right, so international pressure is 0. There's not enough in prison to make it go up. And then disorder is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, plus no bonus for no arms caches. 1, 2, 3, so round it down, so +1. So -5, and then you check, is it at 0 or less? Yes, it is. The EOKA has succeeded. Theoretically, I guess they got Cyprus to join Greece. I think that's what their goal was, instead of it being, however it currently is now, sort of divided up between Cyprus and Turkey and such. But yeah, I don't know if I played well. It's kind of hard to tell when you're doing everything yourself. But that was one of the 4 scenarios you can play in the British way, or you can combine them all into a big campaign. And that was, again, that magical other way to play war games solo, just doing it all yourself. No hidden information. You don't know if you're smart or not. I beat myself real good. Take that, Mike. And at the end of some videos, we like to thank our co-op champions, our biggest supporters on Patreon. So I'd like to give a shout out to Minkus, J. Willie MF, and Steve Wren. Thanks, patrons, and thanks everybody for watching. We'll see you at the next stop.